Dear listener, welcome into Other People's Shoes, Season 17, entitled Dear. This season, we venture into emotional territories as we explore words left unsent through this intimate process of writing a letter that was never meant to reach its recipient. The raw, unfiltered authenticity that speaks volumes in these letters. These unrevealed stories, confessions, and reflections held within these letters until now are powerful. Welcome to Dear, sincerely, Other People's Shoes.
Welcome in to Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. Thank you so much for hitting play today. Really excited that you've chosen to hang out with us today. Really excited to speak with our guest today. Before we get to him, though, I have to take a step back to what happened previous this week. I had the opportunity of being at a Memorial Day event here locally. 2 different events actually held at our cemeteries, our local cemeteries. And let me tell you, as a patriot that I am, as a former MK, that's a Marine kid, in case you're wondering, it is still a very emotional moment for me when I see a coffin in front of me and a flag being folded. If you have yet to experience that as an American, now I'm not saying go out and find a local funeral and go to one, and I think it'd be like crashing a funeral. Not suggesting that in any way, but maybe even jump on YouTube. There is something surreal, really just monumental that takes place when you see that event firsthand. But if you get an opportunity, if a loved one, maybe an acquaintance has passed, and you get to experience that, let me tell you right now, there is nothing more powerful than that moment. Set the table for you to invite you in to meet our next guest. His name is Don Mann, and Don, let me tell you, is renowned. He's done a lot of work with the Navy SEALs. He's a former Navy SEAL himself. He's done some Navy SEAL Team 6 stuff. We're going to get into all kinds of stuff. First off, acknowledge Don for his service and thank him. And Don, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much, Neil. Thank you for having me.
Well, I acknowledge your service and the sacrifices that you've made. Getting into you, love to know this, love to hear this. What size shoes do you wear?
I wear a size 9.5 or 10.
There's no judgment on that. I always feel like people are like, wow, I should say I wear a 23. I'm like, well, if you do, is there a style or brand? I know you're a big enthusiast and running connoisseur of sorts.
I do trail running, basically, for shoes. That's what I usually do is trail running. I don't really wear that much for dress-up shoes or anything, kind of casual. I appreciate the offer, though.
Asics or New Balance, Ultra, Solomon, if they were to throw some money your way, you'd be all right with that.
Oh, yeah. New Balance were the first shoes I wore at my first marathon, Boston Marathon, and Solomon were the first shoes I ever wore and the only shoes I ever wore for adventure racing. Yeah, so those 2 are hard there.
I don't own either brand. If they want to come on and support a shoe type podcast, I'd be all right with that. Yeah. Throw some dollars our way. Well, Don, getting into your story, I'm fascinated by 1, you as a person, 2, just the work that you have done through the years in our military forces in preparing this next generation. I'll call them what they are, of warriors, of people who are answering the call. Speak to that maybe about why you got involved in the Navy and post-career and how that's helped you through life.
Well, Neil, I love how you opened up the show by saying you saw coffins with flags on it. I couldn't say that any better than the way you explained it. There is a feeling that just stabs you in the heart when you see something like that. I would say that feeling is why I joined the military. And your dad was a Marine, and I know you got a lot of great sense of patriotism passed down from your dad. And the same with me, with my dad. He was in the Navy. But whenever we'd see veterans wounded or soldiers or Navy, Air Force killed in action, my father would almost cry. He'd have tears in his eyes at dinner table. He'd say a prayer. And as young kids, we'd see this. And then he retired from his business. He went to work with the VFW and DAV, and he gave his whole life to supporting veterans. The big picture of things, that's what I like to do as well. My father did it much better than I'm doing it, I believe. I did join the Navy. I loved the Navy. I started out with the Marine Corps while I was waiting for orders for buds. All I wanted to do was I wanted to serve our country. I wanted a lot of action in my life. And I wanted to see the world. And I wanted to do good things for people all at the same time. Joining the military for me was just absolutely perfect. I did 21 years. And then when I got out, I stayed active with helping the Navy Sea Cadets, the SEAL Adventure Challenge SEAL Training Academy, Navy SEAL Adventure Leadership Training, a lot of SEAL events, helping mainly young kids come up and to become SEALs, and some Marines and some in the Army. My time, I'm in my 60s. I had this life filled with patriotism and wanting to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And I like passing this on. And I really do believe this generation, for some reason, I don't know the reason. I don't buy that it was COVID or social media, but for some reason, these kids are having a harder time getting on the right track. And if people who have some military experience and have been put on the right track one way or the other, it's our obligation to help pass along some wisdom that we've gained along the years to help these younger folks get straight. A lot of them are on the wrong path.
Well, you mentioned helping that next generation. As you're talking and describing being the runner that you are, and I used to spend some time on the running track, never really loved cross country. The idea of running through wood on sawdust didn't ever really excite me. Now, running on a rubber track, that seemed to be more exciting. I don't know why. Maybe because I got to wear spikes and that seemed cooler. This last spring, I actually spent some time at one of our local high schools. It's Eagle Point High School. My daughter goes there. I got an opportunity to be a public address announcer, and they had me do a track event. And I thought, how do you announce a track meet? We got Susie coming down the backstretch here. I wonder if she's going to get caught by Jessica. I don't know how you make track sound exciting. I really struggled with that. I share that story to illustrate there was an event called the 4x400 relay, or 1600 meter relay, sometimes they call it. And what it is, just to help the track novices in the room, is one kid starts out, he runs a lap and he hands it off to another kid and they run a lap and then so on. They do it 4 times, 1600, because each lap is 400 meters. Yes, it's meters, by the way. I don't know why we do it in meters in track, nowhere else. Is you kind of took the baton from others and now you're trying to pass that baton to someone else in a lot of respects. Who are you handing that to that is then going to take up Don's mantle to run with it further?
I would like to pass that mantle on to as many people as possible. The more the better. The more they pass it on, the better. Something that's kind of like just a fire that just spreads. Enthusiasm in that, it's contagious. And when someone can hear somebody like you on your podcast and talking with young folks, someone like myself or anybody who really has this passion and want to help people, I mean, that spreads, and it spreads like wildfire, and it can. We also know some cool kid walking into school selling some kind of drug, that spreads as well. And we have to be the counter to that. We've lived lives up to the point where we have, and that wisdom should be passed on. What I like to tell people now, and it took years, Neil, for me to figure this out. People would say, how do I become a SEAL? How do I become a Marine? How to become an athlete? Or how to become a world-class? A little bit of time with the Marines, serve at SEAL Team 1, SEAL Team 2, and SEAL Team 6. And I retired from SEAL Team 6. Ever since that time frame, every week, at least 2 or 3 calls I get. This has been decades. How do I do this? Back when the Ironman first started, I spoke to the #1 triathlete in the world. And I said, Dave, how do you stay in such great shape? He said, well, Don, the doctors tell me not to do this. I don't take any days off. I work out every day of the year. The light bulb went off. I went 21 years without a day off from working out. His words meant so much to me. And he became the king of Kona, the best triathlete in the world. I used that as a stepping stone on how to help other people. I knew it helped me a lot as an athlete, but then I started thinking, well, it's not only important to train, you also have to get smarter and you have to increase your education. You also have to help people. So what I did, Neil, I broke it down into just 4 steps. When people ask me, how can I do whatever? All you have to do is 4 things. Every day, wake up and make sure you do 4 things. And it's not hard to do. I'm going to use the example as a SEAL. If you want to become a SEAL, every day, get up and do something that makes you stronger. You figure out what that is. Don't expect somebody to tell you this is a workout plan you got to go on. You figure it out. Every day get stronger. You might say, okay, I did 150 push-ups yesterday. Today I'm doing 175. I did CrossFit yesterday. Today I'll go to the weight room. But you just get stronger every day. #1. #2, every day get faster. If you're going to become a SEAL, you have to run, you have to swim, do fartleks, do hill work, do speed work, go out on the track like you didn't like doing so much. Get faster on the track. Get faster in the pool doing laps. If you could do 120 sit-ups in 2 minutes, do 122 in 2 minutes. But every day, do something to make yourself faster. More importantly, number 3, every day do something that makes you smarter. So if it is the military you want to go into, if it is a SEAL team you want to get into, look at the history of the SEALs dating back to World War II, underwater demolition team. See what they did there at Normandy, and then follow them through to Korea, and then Vietnam, where the SEALs really made their mark, and then should go all the way through Iraq, Afghanistan, and the 90 countries they're in now, and learn about the history of the SEALs, learn about the weapons they shoot, go take weapons courses, get smarter on weapons, learn to skydive, get smarter on what they're doing, the hey-hos, the halos. Just learn as much as you can. And number 4, every day do something good for somebody. You see the old man struggling, trying to get his garbage out, go help him. If your mother's doing dishes, go help her. Every day, just make sure you do something good for somebody. And some people will say, well, I don't want to become a SEAL. I want to become a banker. Said still, every day do something to make yourself stronger. Be a stronger leader. Be a stronger follower. Find a weakness you have and get stronger in that. Number 2, get faster every day. Bankers might say, I don't have to be fast. Change that word out for efficiency. Become more efficient in your work tasks. Find a way to become more efficient so you can spend more quality time, maybe with family. Whatever it is you like doing, or your interest or your hobby or your work is, you can get smarter in that field every day. And no matter what, you can help somebody every day. So when I tell this to 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds, when they get ready for selection or bud screening, I tell them, you just might be the strongest person there now among a selection of a lot of people. But you might be the strongest, and you might be the fastest, and you might be the most knowledgeable. And most importantly, you're going to be the guy everyone wants on their team because you're so used to helping people. And these things are all about teams, sports or military. It's all about teams. So if you do those 4 things every day, it's going to make a big difference in your life and other people's lives. 2 weeks ago, I received a letter from a 72-year-old man who's been practicing these 4 steps every day for years. Every day before he takes his shower, he makes sure he gets 120 push-ups. And he has a whole routine on how he helps people. And his walks around his neighborhood, he times them. And he tries to get faster. And he's been getting in better shape. Neil, what I did, I would like to task you with something, or offer you a tasking.
All right, I'm ready. Let me hear it.
You're the first person. You are the very first person I'm doing this with. It's going to get big.
Going to light a fire. We're going to sweep the nation.
What my purpose is right now is those 4 things, those 4 steps. I would like to task you with those 4 steps and ask you to do it for 10 days. And then I'd like you to pass that on to 10 people and ask those 10 people to do it for 10 days. And then if there's a charity or some foundation you can assist, if you would be willing to make a $10 donation to them. And then if you can do that, and 10 of your people can do that, and those 10 can do it, I think we can make a small difference in this world, making it smarter and stronger and helping people. What my own personal mission is right now. Task myself and others with this. I think it's a great idea. We have a fat country. We're the fattest country in the world. So it's going to help with physical fitness. We've got some of the lowest grades as far as education. It's going to help there. And we could all do better by helping people and to get that help.
I will take your task. I will take the challenge. You know, Don, what you're saying reminds me of a guy that has since passed. You probably don't know him. If you do, high five. I would high five you if you were there. His name's Dean Smith. He coached this amazing team that people could probably fill in the blank for if they listen to me on the regular. North Carolina basketball, that was the correct answer in case you were wondering. He says, play hard, play smart, play together.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Carolina mantra, or they call it the Carolina way. And I say that as you're saying those things, I'm like, this sounds a lot like the Carolina way. Now, I would add the caveat to that would be, you said, do something good for someone else. And I think that kind of goes in the Southern hospitality, maybe. So maybe that's kind of implied in Dean Smith's little 3 things that he did. What you're saying there. Now, I'm going to flip the coin over for a second because I think there's some cynics in the world and in the room, perhaps, not me and you, those that might be listening in our room, if you will. They would say, you know, Don, that sounds really cool. That sounds really great. You have to understand something. You don't know me. You don't know what I've grown up around. I don't have an ability to get stronger. I don't know where to start to get faster. They would immediately start to push back of all, and they can't, and they won't, and it's too hard, and blah, 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 blah. Your response would be what?
I have a really hard time listening to anybody's excuses. They don't even filter. I mean, they stop here. They don't go through. If they say they can't, they're correct. They don't have the mindset to try to make something good happen. Who can't get stronger each and every day? I gave this message to an old folks home, do these talks around the country. And usually sometimes there's 1,000, 1,500 people in these talks. They're highly motivated people and business owners and all this. I gave this one talk to a retirement home, and a doctor friend of mine says, hey, can you give this talk to our home? I said, Parker, I mean, these people are in the 80s and 90s. I don't know if my talk's going to resonate with them. Gave him the talk, and it did resonate. And this little old lady, she was in her 90s, came up to me, and her husband was behind her walking on a walker with oxygen. She said, that moved me so much. Now, when I go to physical therapy with my husband, I'm going to make sure they push him harder. So, so everybody can get stronger. Who can't get stronger? It reminds me of the first time I ran a marathon. I ran the Boston Marathon as a non-runner. All I talked myself into doing is, why can't I ever put one leg in front of the other? I could always do that unless I'm unconscious. I could always put one leg in front of the other. So I finished the marathon without being a runner. Everybody can get stronger. You walk around your neighborhood, whatever you do, you know you can get stronger, and you can be more efficient, and you can get smarter, and you could always help somebody. I mean, you help people with your podcast all the time.
Well, that's very kind of you. When you think about where our military is and where our country is as a whole, what do you think about, and what type of things concern you, again, about this next generation? I know from previous conversations, you have a grandson. You do get to spend some time with him. What world do you think talking about, again, the baton that he's going to get past, and what is his world maybe going to look like in your mind? If things don't change, that people don't get stronger, that people don't get faster, they don't get smarter, and they don't start doing nicer things for folks.
Well, I have a feeling a lot of people get upset when I say this. I believe every generation is a little softer than the generation before. Mm-hmm. Your dad's generation was tougher than the following generation. My dad's generation was much tougher than my generation. We got hit Pearl Harbor, Japanese attacked us. My father, his two brothers and sister, all just joined the military. They just quit what they were doing. God, country, family. We're going to go help our country survive. It goes in that order: God, country, family. It was always impressed on me. Then they went off to war, brutal war, World War II, friends being killed, dying, and injuries everywhere. They came back to the U.S., went right to work, and created the greatest country ever developed in this world. That was the mindset they had. I rarely see that mindset anymore. Our recruitment numbers are the lowest they've ever been. The days of World War II, our numbers in the military are way down. The recruitment is terrible. People really don't have that same feeling of God, country, family, of patriotism anymore. People who are being recruited, they're having a hard time getting them through the physical fitness standards. Too many of them are obese. They like the couch, and they like the cell phone, the iPad, being on a computer. It's a softer country. I get this breath of fresh air when I'm around these young, motivated guys who want to be the Sea Cadets or the SEAL Adventure Challenge, or like a sports team. When you group of kids and there's a pocket of kids away from main society, and they are hardcore, and they want to push themselves hard, and they want to become colonels or generals in the Marines or the Army, become SEALs. Less and less frequent that I see people like this. I'm not encouraged by what I see for the future of our country. We have some real threats. A lot of them face nuclear weapons at each other. We have a group of people in our country who are not as patriotic or not as willing to join the military to help our country like we used to have. And I know things can turn around. I think right now, track we're on has got to be changed before we absolutely need people in the military. When you join the military, if, for instance, we go to war with Iran, China, or Russia, which none of that's, maybe Iran, that's the closest thing we're at right now where we could go to war pretty quickly, depending on what happens with Israel and Iran. We go in, support Israel, who's going against Iran, and vice versa, and Russia comes in. We could be the start of a big regional war that could go to World War III. If we do that and we're taking people from society to go defend our country, it's hard for me to see where those people are going to come from, and when they get there, what their mindset is. It's different than it used to be. When I was growing up, it's a whole different attitude than it used to be. Now, things can shift, and I do hope and pray they do shift for our country.
I'm 44 now, and I remember in 1990, Whitney Houston at the Super Bowl, Gulf Wars going on, the first one, tears in her eyes. She sang this amazing Star-Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl, one of the monumental moments of the Super Bowl, even in Super Bowl history, non-sports related. And I remember 9/11. I'd just gotten married. I remember my wife calling me. I remember staying in my apartment thinking the air traffic controller guy is going to get fired because I thought he flew the planes into the tower because he wasn't paying attention. I mean, those are the thoughts I had. I never even dreamed that we were, quote unquote, under attack. Those were not even on my radar. I saw our nation, both of those instances, as I describe, as a rallying point, as a patriotism in my lifetime. I wonder, now with this next generation, I have now friends that have come back from Iraq, have come back from Afghanistan, and they've asked me the question, Neil, why did we go? What did we do there? Why did my brothers have to die? Why did my sisters in arms have to die? What did we die for? And I'm like, I'm the last person to answer that question. I don't know. What would be your response to that?
When we got attacked on 9/11, I was in the CIA at that point. We were looking for bin Laden for years. Even I retired from the SEAL teams. We were looking for him. A lot of dry holes. We didn't find him. Went into the agency and we were looking for him. We didn't find him. We're always out after him. There's a lot of chatter on what they wanted to do to us. We got a lot of the enemy and we got him behind bars. There was an interrogation program. Now the left will hear that word. They'll say, oh, that is so terrible. In that interrogation program, we did get KSM, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11. He and the doctors who did the interrogation, they were some of the greatest patriots you'd ever meet in your life. I was in the room with them and they would talk to KSM because most of it was just speaking to him. He was waterboarded. So what? He had some water on his face. Then he gave up so many more answers. They think that the conversations with KSM and these two doctors probably saved 200 acts from being carried out. 200 military operations. It was a good thing. KSM, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind on 9/11, who also cut off Daniel Pearl's head, a real bad guy. He really gave us an insight to how the enemy, what they think of us. Dr. Mitchell said, KSM, you killed us. You killed 3,000 people on 9/11. Don't you know a lot of those people were Muslims? KSM got this gleam in his eye, says, yes, that's okay. If I kill a lot more infidel and just some Muslims die, that's okay. And the doctor said, but KSM, you kill a lot of women too. What about women and children? KSM said, oh, it's okay if I kill women. Women support the infidel if we can't have that. So the more women we kill, if they're supporting the infidel, the better. And those little kids, they grow up to be our enemy. We kill them too. And then when he talked about how this should be an Islamic world and his view of Islamic fundamentalism, it was evil. When they put him in prison, when he went down to Gitmo, they called him the master because he was the mastermind that beat the U.S. Okay, so that was 9/11. That was a long time ago. Now, since then, we have maybe 20,000 single Chinese men who've come across the border. We think in sleeper cells, a lot of them from Hezbollah. And a lot of them, we got the Chinese, we got Hezbollah cells, we got both types of cells. We believe they want to shut down our infrastructure for the next strike. And we're not doing anything about it. We have a form of government now that wants that border wide open. And these people, a lot of people who want to destroy our country are in our country. During 9/11, we had some people who went to flight school so they can fly planes into the buildings. As far as we knew, we had a handful of people in the country, probably in the hundreds. Compared to today, it was a handful. Now we have a completely wide open border. The fentanyl, the human trafficking, the people who want to destroy our country are in our country. We have a bigger threat than ever in the history of the world. I believe today's the most dangerous day on this planet, and tomorrow is going to be more dangerous because of the situation the world is in. Policies the U.S. has made haven't been the right policies. We got into Iraq, we got into Afghanistan. We were there for 20 years. I wish I had an answer for that. I do know why we went in there. Afghanistan, we got hit. 9/11, we got hit 3 times. We wanted to destroy those training camps, those terrorist training camps. That doesn't take take 5, 10, 15, 20 years to do that. You can do that. Then what we tried to do is rebuild the country in our image, democratic nation, and that failed miserably. And we left, we lost, and the country's worse off than it ever was. Iraq with Saddam, I know why we went in there, and I actually thought it was a little bit too soon to have 2 wars at one time and going in Iraq right after Afghanistan. But I know why President Bush did that. Saddam was telling everybody that he had weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons that he used on the Kurds. I lived with those Kurds for 2 months, and all the little kids had little boils and cysts on their necks and faces. And my interpreter said, do you know why all those kids have all those marks all over them? It's because the DNA that Saddam used passed down from generation to generation, and it goes to the kids. So he did use chemical weapons. He did tell people he had weapons of mass destruction. We did find components throughout the countryside of components of weapons of mass destruction. We never found the smoking gun, as they say. He did have that, so I do see why we went in there. We were hit 3 times. We went in there. I was also there when the director of the CIA flew in. He said, you people here looking for weapons of mass destruction, don't bother. There aren't any here. And then the war went on 18 years after that. And we tried to rebuild it in our image. It just didn't work. And we failed, and we lost a lot of people. When I say the way our policies have to change, they're not working. We're of a mindset that's not working. I believe our policies have to change, and our people's mindset have to change, where they want to go to defend the country. It's hard to want to go defend a country that's losing all these wars. And now we're importing Ukraine with millions and billions of dollars, and maybe they've lost 600,000 people now. We want them to fight our enemy, Russia. We just sent them $61 billion more dollars. It's not going to do anything at all. All it's going to do is get more people to the battle lines and more people slaughtered in Ukraine. We keep doing the wrong things. I don't know what the right thing is, but I know what we've been doing is not right. Putin's been wanting to side with us for many, many years. We keep ripping up the peace treaty with Putin. Putin doesn't want a war with Ukraine. He cannot have us have NATO troops in Ukraine on the border of Russia. We want to allow Russia or Chinese troops on the border of Mexico or Canada. Just can't happen. He's been telling us that for years and years. We forced it to happen. When Russia broke apart and the Soviet Union broke apart and all the countries became independent countries back next to Gulf War time, 1991, we made a deal with Russia. We will not step 1 foot closer to your border. Well, we lied. We took 14 of those countries and made them NATO countries. And then he said, whatever you do, don't take Ukraine. That's got that 1,000-mile border with Russia. You can't be on my border. We tried convincing Ukraine to be on the fast track and become NATO immediately. That can't happen. We wouldn't allow it to happen. We didn't allow it to happen when the Russians putting nuclear weapons in Cuba. We did not allow it to happen. No country would allow it to happen. We have those issues which, when people say, why were we in Iraq? Why were we in Afghanistan for those 20-year periods? Why did I lose my friends and family? The philosophy of us trying to change those countries failed. I was on a SEAL podcast a little while ago. I saw some big, tough guys on that crying. When we had that botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, a lot of these guys were in Afghanistan for their whole career, 20 years. And one of them said something that was very, very moving. He said, most people, when you join the military, you're in there for 20 years or so, you might lose a parent or 2. You might lose a couple best friends, a couple family members. You might lose 6 or 7 people. He said, yeah, I've lost all that. Plus, I've lost 45 of my best friends. The toll it's taken compared to the results that we got from it, it's not worth it. Just not worth it. We made a lot of enemies because of it. We tried to help. We tried doing the right thing, but it didn't work. I think those policies have to change, and they have to change quickly. Right now, we have 95% of the world against us because of our support for Israel. Russia is beating Ukraine. We're losing again, and it's disheartening. And it's hard for me to say because I am an American patriot. I love our country, but I don't like what it's been doing in the past few decades.
Do you think maybe that is why it's hard to defend and sign up to go fight for a country that maybe is hard to defend?
I think that is a reason, yes.
As an example, my brother and I are estranged. He's 2 years older. Grew up in the same house I did, has the same dad as I do, has the same mom, just to give clarity. He has chosen to walk away from our family for whatever reason. He has a variety of reasons. For me right now, it's hard for me to think about if my phone were to ring, and even in this moment, and my brother's on the other end saying, I need help. It would be hard for me to go and help him and defend him, fight for him. Some of the choices he's made, decisions he's chosen to do. He still my family. I still got to go do what I can to help. I just feel like right now in these moments, the younger people that I see, there is no sense of call on their life. There is no sense of direction as you're illustrating your 4 points, your quadrant, if you will. There's none of that. They'd rather sit at home and play Call of Duty. I served my military by playing Call of Duty. It's like, that's not the same. That's not even close. God, deity, whoever you want to say, gave Don the power to fix our country. It's not a new president, is what I'm hearing you say. Maybe that's the underlining thing. A new president doesn't fix things. A new set of congressmen or congresswomen doesn't fix our country. What truly fixes our country in your mind?
I agree with you that a president at the most can only do a little. Democrat parties typically not pro-military. Republicans are usually a little bit more pro-military. Democrats are all about being in wars, though, and keeping the wars prolonged. Now, we weren't attacked after 9/11 with President Bush. It's kind of funny because the interrogators said to KSM, didn't you know we were going to come down on you hard and hit you hard after you hit us on 9/11? KSM's words were, well, we didn't know you'd have a cowboy in office. In other words, we didn't know you'd have somebody hit us so hard. Also with Trump, when Trump was our president, nobody touched us. They didn't know how stable he was, maybe. They were afraid that he would come back really, really hard, but he is unpredictable. So we weren't hit after 9/11 with President Bush, and we weren't hit with President Trump. So that is a little bit about a president. When you see weakness, we have a very weak president now. When there's weakness, we will be attacked. When there's weakness, that's when North Korea will strike South Korea all the more. There's a lot of people saying that there's no way Russia would have attacked Ukraine if Trump was in office. There's no way Hamas would have attacked Israel. So there is some proof or some truth maybe that the president, it could be coincidental, the president makes a difference. It's almost like you were alluding to, it's got to be a big collective mindset that has to change. And I agree with you, that doesn't come from the president. A little bit does. John F. Kennedy was a great leader. He created a great mindset. I think he was maybe one of the last. President Bush was a very patriotic man, both of them, the father and the son. What they exuded was a mindset that spread somewhere. But somehow this whole country has to have a shift. We know how social media changes things so fast. Maybe that is, hey, look, pay attention to the survival of our country. Like it or not, we have a lot of faults. We have a lot of things that aren't at fault and a lot of things that work and a lot of reasons people from all over the world are trying to get into this country and leave all these other countries. We do have a great country. We have to protect it from deteriorating anymore. We have to protect it from getting past that tipping point where we can't come back. And if this could be a social media calling, maybe stop talking about the Kardashians or this wokeness and all this other stuff for a while and things. The Chinese, for instance, TikTok, their algorithms. It's nothing like what our kids are seeing on TikTok. On their TikTok algorithms, ways to make China a stronger country, ways to be proud of your country. Our TikTok is woke stuff. If that could all be shifted, that's probably the most powerful way to change a mindset is through the social media now. That would take powerful, powerful people to make that happen. And when I say powerful people, people like George Soros, who seems to be going against that, trying to hit our country and make it weaker in every way he can, and David Rockefeller Foundation, and these foundations that are trying to instill culture in our country that's eating it from within, making us weaker. We have to counter that with people as powerful as them, but on the other side. And I think that's probably one of the best ways we can do that.
Call those magic tricks, the things that you're describing, the Kardashians, the things of that nature. It's things that pull us away from the main attraction of really what's happening right in front of us. It's like, look over here while I do this magic trick. We're like, whoa, what's happening over there? And our eyes are pulled. Your most exciting moment as a SEAL was what?
The most exciting was when you get the pin and they put the trident on your chest and all the guys come and hit you in the chest with the 3 prongs going into your skin and you bleed throughout your uniform for about a half a day. So that's the proudest, most exciting. I think the time when I was captured after spending a whole, probably 3 days in a hole filled with sewage and then getting out of that and looking around at the other 3 guys with us like, wow, we just beat that. And we knew we weren't going to be killed and we knew we were going to survive and we're as sick as can be. We got out of there and a moment like that is thinking, wow, the reason we survived is because we have this mindset that's unstoppable. And that and many, many other times where things looked really bad, but you have this combat mindset, you're going to win. you're going to succeed. That is one of the most exciting things for me, that when those things, for instance, once I was just a high altitude, high opening jump out, this is anywhere between 18 and 30,000 feet. Big rucksack and a weapon and oxygen and a radio and a GPS, and you have all this gear on in the middle of the night, and you jump out, high altitude, high opening, you pull high. So you jump out, you count to 2, 3, 4,000, and then you pull your chute open. So you pull high. It's not like a low, high altitude low opening where you free fall for a minute or so and then pull your parachute low. High altitude low opening, that's a fun jump. High altitude high opening is a tactical jump, and it's very stressful. And you might jump maybe 45, 70 miles away from the target, flying up there for 45 or so minutes, and you land. And that's the advantage of a hey-ho. There's this one hey-ho, I pulled my chute and my feet flipped through my parachute risers, and my risers came fast, spinning fast, hit my helmet, knocked my head to the left. My oxygen mask flew off, and I saw this bright lights. I thought I snapped my neck. And when my mask came off, it pulled my jaw with it. So my jaw got dislocated, and I thought my neck had snapped, and I knew my jaw was shattered. And I didn't go unconscious. And I looked up, and the risers were pushed against my helmet still, but I could see the little chem lights on the guys way above me. So I knew I was going down to earth fast. And I did a cutaway. So I got my new parachutes. Now I have a good parachute. Got my oxygen mask on, so all the white stars went away. And then I got on my radio, a little push-to-talk switch here, and I went to say, hey guys, I had a cutaway. I'll meet you on the drop zone. I'll rush up and I'll run up and I'll meet you guys, but I won't land with all the rest of you. By saying that, my mouth wouldn't work. My jaw was off the hinge, and it was off to the left. And I remember smiling, and this is one of those proud moments. I'm a medic. I could put a jaw back into place. This is no big deal. At one point, I would have thought this was a problem. So I put my thumbs on my lower teeth and just snapped my jaw back into place. Then I was able to talk, and I said, hey, I had a cutaway. I'll meet you on the DZ. It made me smile. I mean, here I was, one parachute failed, the second one opened, no big deal. My jaw wasn't working, no big deal, everything worked. I love those moments where everything seems to be going against you and you win. It's a saying I really like. And actually, John Lennon was quoted for saying it, but other people have said it before him. Everything is going to be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. And I think that mindset's an important thing to have, like, oh my God, today is so difficult. This week is terrible. Everything's going to be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end yet. There's still time to fix it and make things better.
So how fast do you think you were going as this free fall takes place?
Well, you're going 120 miles an hour.
So at 120 miles an hour, you're resetting your jaw.
120 miles an hour is when I did the cutaway.
Okay.
And then you're under a parachute again.
Right.
You're going 20 or 30 miles an hour. You're going faster horizontally.
Yeah, but still, you're going pretty quick, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great story. I love that. We talked about your grandson a little bit. What does he see in Papa, Grandpa? I don't know what he calls you. I like Papa. That sounds fun. What does he see in you that he maybe wants to aspire to be like? Probably have seen some stuff. Maybe he mimics you in some respect. What does he see in you that just really gets him excited about being around you?
Well, when I picked him up for his visit he had here a little while ago, picked him up at the airport. It was really late at night. He got in the car and he said, Papa, that's what he calls me. Parents already told me, my daughter and her husband, parents already told me you're not going to let me on my computer much or my cell phone or my laptop or anything like that for a long time. For much of the time I'm visiting with you. Is that true? I said, no, Sawyer, I have a plan. You can go on it all you want. He said, really? I said, yeah. So I told him the 4 things. I said, what I like to do is every day I like to get stronger. I lift weights in my gym every day. And I go out on the trails out here in the mountains and I do a trail run and I try to do it faster every day. And then world events is the thing I like to get smarter on every day. I follow world events and I do that 2 hours a night. And I try to help somebody every day. And I would love it if you would do that with me. By the way, a little coaching, a coaxing is if you do one workout with me a day, I'll get you some of that natural ice cream they make down the bottom of the mountain. And if you do 2 workouts with me, you get 2 scoops. And as far as you getting on your computer, you can get on it anytime you want. The only thing is, your mother gave us 8 pages of homework to do. Before you go on your computer, I'd like to do that homework with you, at least 1 page. And then that'll help me to get smarter. And you'll help me get smarter. And you'll get smarter. Whenever you want to get on your computer, let's just do a page of homework. We'll do it together. And then that way, you're getting stronger every day. You're getting faster every day on the trails. You're getting smarter every day, and you're helping me. And we did that every day. He had over 24 pages of homework done, and he didn't have to, but he wanted to. He got stronger and he got faster every day, and it worked for him. That's what I hope that sticks with him. them. Now, when he goes home to Denver, Colorado, he's surrounded by forces that aren't like that. He's surrounded by, hey, let's sit on the couch and hang out. Let's sit on the couch and watch video games. So he's got a lot of force pulling him away from that. I do think that will stick with him. I hope it sticks with him.
That's awesome. I love that. Love that a lot. Well, Don, as we start to wrap up today, I'm curious about this. I know there is a new book out. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit and then maybe talk about some of the cooler stuff that you're doing as far as the TV side of things? I'd love you to share about that.
My 23rd book, and hopefully I think my final book, because I don't know anything else to say in a book, on women warriors. Right now, there's a couple publishers. Publishing community has gone woke. If it has to do with war, law enforcement, they really don't want to write so much anymore on that stuff. So I have this book on women warriors, the 2,000 female snipers in the Soviet Union, or the most fierce pirate of all time from China, a female Muslim woman. I mean, there's some incredible women warriors. In Vietnam, the Apache lady, the one who went against our number one sniper, Carlos Hathcock. There's some incredible stories about female warriors. The publishing company would like less of that and more maybe just people who are females who were in the military, who had a lot of people under their command or got a certain medal or something. To me, it's a little bit of a boring book. So right now I'm struggling trying to find the right publisher for that. I'm still working on Surviving Man. We just had another 2 episodes filmed, and we're getting Randy Couture, the MMA champion, good friends with Sylvester Stallone. He's going to be my co-host again in Las Vegas. And then I'm working on The Mission, which is the new TV show. And that is train these people to develop, prepare, and train for a military mission, then task them with a mission of helping a group of people in a significant way by raising significant awareness and funds for that group of people. And that might be the last ones we had were law enforcement, police officers and people like that. Somebody in the family died in fighting crime. So this is a mission to support those families. Or animal cruelty. This is a mission to help protect from animals from animal cruelty. And the big ones are human trafficking, how to help these ladies who've been trafficked, and they put them in this area. They arranged all this and they put them underneath the police station until they could get them out of town and find homes for them. And challenge athletes, try to get them wheelchairs. And we have a mission being done in Belize right now, getting ramps built up for people on wheelchairs. So the mission is going really well. And it's something really near and dear to my heart. That's really helping people create a mission to help other people. And then my own mission is tasking I tasked you with, or ask you if you wanted to be tasked with it, trying to spread this word, those 4 points, do it for 10 days, send it out to 10 people. Hopefully they'll do it. And then maybe make a $10 donation to somewhere, somebody, some church, anything they want to do. You asked me how we could help change. It's not the president, but maybe it's people thinking like this could change things. Lots of us.
Do you ever wonder when history retells the last 20 years, what they will share, be written about this generation?
History right now is not being told accurately. A lot of things they exclude. They are trying to remove the hero. We did it to the Native American Indians. We don't read about the Native American Indian heroes. And now Washington, Jefferson, people like that, they're erasing it from the history books. I think when they write about this generation, I don't think it's going to be that positive. Who's to tell? Maybe something big is going to happen in this world and this generation pulls us through. Maybe it's because of the skills they've learned on a computer. Maybe something like that could happen. We don't know, but I don't see, I'm not trying to be negative. They haven't had a chance yet to prove themselves as a generation where this generation saved the world, or this generation created something or something really, really big. So there's still time. Right now, I don't know what that would be up to this point in time.
Yeah, I just wonder what my daughter will inherit. She's 16 now. What her world looks like 10 years from now, even 15 years from now. What the United States would be in those moments. As I get to my later years, I'm scared. Not I'm hiding under my bed scared. I'm concerned. I think we're losing the generation of patriots. It saddens me.
I was just spent some time with my sister, and she said something that really stuck. She said, the saddest thing is our children and our grandchildren aren't going to know what great of a country we once had unless this turns around. And I feel the same, Neil, too. I have 2 granddaughters, 2 of 1 and 3, see a world different than we've seen it. And it's our responsibility. Generations, every generation above us gave us something greater than what they had. And this might be the first time that's not going to happen unless something big, there's a big shift.
My brother-in-law made a very similar statement. He said every property he's ever owned or been involved in, he tries to leave it better than he found it. Mm-hmm. And I just think that is such a profound thing to think about. The land that we're on, are we leaving it better than we found it? That has resonated with me a ton. Well, Don, as we go, how can folks get in touch with you? What's the best way? Where can they go see all the things that Don's a part of?
I have a website, Neil, and it's usfrogman.com, and Frogman's with 2 N's. And if you Google my name, Don Mann, Navy SEAL, that'll show up.
Don, again, I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for all that you do for our country, not only helping the next generation, as we talked about, just being a patriot and really reminding us and calling us to the quadrant. I'm going to just give it its name. That's what I'm going to call it, the quadrant, because that sounds cool. Maybe you could get shirts made. I don't need rights or anything like that. It's fine if you use that in any way. Just wanted to say thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate all that you shared.
Thank you so much, Neil. And I look forward to our next time.
Absolutely. Well, guys and gals, kids and campers alike, that is it. That is all. That is, in fact, our show today. What do you take away? What are you going to go tell your friends about? Is it the 4 things? Or are you going to try to get stronger, faster, smarter, and do something nice, something good for somebody this week? That's my challenge to you. Listen, Don challenged me. I'm going to challenge you right back. So how can you get stronger? Is there a weak area in your life? Okay, think about that. What's something that you're not very fast at yet? Let me tell you, this generation can't type to save their life. Maybe that's something you strive to do faster at. You're going to type faster, as silly as that may sound. Now, smarter. How can you get smarter? What can you do to improve that thought process? And I'm sorry, everybody can do something good today. You can find a way to maybe buy somebody's coffee in the barista line. Just some thoughts to think about. One more thought to think about as we get out of here. What are you going to do to share this with somebody else? I don't often say this, but I would encourage you to share this episode with somebody. It could definitely change a lot of things in their life, in their sphere. Think about that as well. And remember this as we go. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned till next week when we walk in other people's shoes.